Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dana White Contender Series Breakdowns. This is for week 6 next week, and my co-host Mike from the Couch Warrior Pod. Mike, how are you doing, and how are you feeling about this week?
I'm chilling, brother. I am looking forward to this card. Not my favorite in terms of like confidence for the matchups, but I'm hyped to see these prospects fight. Coming off of a fun night yesterday, I mean, that was a roller coaster of emotion. Anyone who follows me knows I had a max bet on Butka. About 3 hours before the card, everybody and their mom started betting Hanekom down all the way to the point where Butka was plus 150 and I had bet him at minus 145. So I'm sitting here shook as hell, hitting up Wiz, telling him how shook I am. And then it was a relief because we cashed it and I had some nice cashes. We hit Barbosa plus 285 ITD. That was beautiful. John Silva, I mean, I picked him to win and I bet him. I did not think it was going to happen that way, but
That was murder. That was
looking forward to
murder.
this card. Hopefully, we can keep it going.
Yeah, I mean, looking back to, the past 2 weeks in general, and not to toot our own horn, but this is our first season doing the show together, and so far it's been pretty good. Last week we hit pretty much every single bet except for the obvious main event slip up
Brutal.
from my end. That was brutal, but you live and you learn. And it's Contender Series. I shouldn't have put too much stock into this big of a favorite. But everything else from the dog shot on Gene Silva to Budka to inside the distance for Barbosa on your end, we've been smashing it. So we appreciate the support from everybody, and we're looking to bring more winners your way. But without further ado, first fight on the card, we have Julia Polastri going up against Patricia Alujas. Uh, we don't have the age for Patricia, but 25 years old for Julia. Julia is going to be the shorter fighter by 2 inches, and we do not have reach metrics when it comes to Patricia. This girl Patricia is fighting out of this, not the same gym, but the same franchise gym as Ribeiro from yesterday at Alves Thai, Paraguay, though, not Brazil. And then we have CWE fighter for Julia. Mike, why don't you lead this one off for us?
Nice. You give me the most exciting fight of the card to start off. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't have
I'm
much
encouraged.
interest here. With Patricia, I don't know what to make of her. I don't think she's that good. The striking looks okay. Output is okay. Striking defense sucks. I mean, she just stands straight up, chin up in the air. She was getting rocked in 20. It was a 2019 fight, but it was her second to last fight because she doesn't fight often. The Coelho girl was just rocking her all around. She's inactive, which is problematic. Her last fight was in 2021. Before that, it was 2019. So we're talking about somebody who's not very skilled, is going to have ring rust. Maybe she comes in here and looks like this crazy improved fighter. We've seen it. I mean, Natalia Silva comes to mind, but I don't think that's going to happen here. And on the other side with Polastri, do we have like a stud? No, we don't. She's serviceable. She'll maybe get some wins in the division. I think she's going to win this one pretty comfortably. She's well rounded. She can strike. The striking is good. I believe she's coming from a Muay Thai background. Outstruck Jasmine Jazavicius on the Contender Series by over 20 strikes at distance. So even when she's at a reach disadvantage, she's still finding ways to land her shots. I like what I'm seeing on the feet. Also stands pretty tall, and maybe she can get rocked by Patricia. Patricia seems to have some power. Both have 4 knockout wins, but I think it's unlikely. Her wrestling is good. Takedown defense, hard to really tell. Jasmine is taking her down. Got her down. But both of those women are much bigger, and I'm really not seeing much grappling out of Patricia. So for me, it's Polastri. If it's like even money for some reason, I'll put a unit on her. Otherwise, I have no interest in this one.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Patricia, it's a girl who's fairly inactive, as you mentioned, and she really doesn't pose much threat, whether it's on the feet or whether it's in the wrestling department. She's striking defense just horrible. She gets bopped left and right, and she fights close to most of her competition, which is something that you don't like when it comes to the Contender Series. You always want to look for people who tend to separate themselves in their fights. And then Julia is, I mean, definitely a better striker in my opinion, better striking defense, and can mix up the wrestling every here and there, but I don't really expect her to do that. But am I really going to rely on Julia to go for the wrestling and win this comfortably? Probably not. and I'm just gonna have to pass on this one. I already told Mike before the show even started. This is probably my least favorite fight on this whole card. I mean, this card is lackluster in general, but I don't really have a good read on this fight specifically, just because both girls are pretty mid, just from what I've seen on tape. So it's a pass for me, but I do lean the Julia side just because overall game is a little bit better.
I'm
But
with you.
moving on to this next fight, we have Eduardo Neves going up against Janata Denise. Eduardo Neves is 23 years old. We do not have age metrics for Janata. 6'2" for Neves, who's going to be 2 inches shorter than Denise. And we don't have reach metrics for Denise, but 78 inches for Eduardo Neves, fighting out of Eduardo Machado team and then Santa Fe team for Janata Denise. So I'll start this one off. I think Janata Denise is probably going to knock this guy out in the first round. It's just another like lower level heavyweight fight between two Brazilians who just like to stand there and bang. And I think Denise could beat a few of the lower level like UFC heavyweights personally, just with his power. And he's pretty young. He has a lot to learn, but I mean, he's solid with the striking. He puts out a good amount of volume and he looks for the finish quite often. The one thing I have to say is sometimes the cardio can dip just a little bit, which obviously at heavyweight, when you're throwing that many strikes with all the power that you can, it's going to happen. But Neves' striking defense is not something that I'm a fan of. He doesn't really move his head off the center line all that much. So I'd say I'm fairly confident that Denise gets this one done inside the distance, probably round 1 or round 2 by knockout. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, this one's actually really interesting to me. You had Denise on one side, who is tremendously large. He's a very, very big dude. Just a walking, talking refrigerator, like I like to say. Great striker, kickboxing background. He did fight in Glory. I think he went 3-4-0, if I'm not mistaken. So not the best record in the world, but you can see the striking background. He's got really fast hands for a guy of his size, and in this division, he's got very solid output for a guy of his size in this division. But the problem is he's never been out of round 1. We have absolutely no idea what he's going to look like. He's nasty on the feet, like everything I just said. Add in step in elbows, front kicks. He can throw up knees up the middle without clinching or anything. He can just throw them right up there. Super dangerous guy. But the problem is that we don't really know what the ground game is going to look like, but we have an idea. He's a white belt in jiu-jitsu, quite literally a white belt. That's first of all. You look on his Instagram, you can see it. It seems like he won some competition, but at the end of the day, he's a white belt. I don't know what Neves is, but watching Neves, I think he's a little bit higher level on the ground. He's really hittable, this guy. Also, Denise, like you look in the Rodrigo fight, Rodrigo's fat, small, 37 years old, and was landing way too much for me to be comfortable with on a guy like Denise. And the takedown defense, like I mentioned, we don't really know. It looks decent, but we're talking about guys like Rodrigo, who just look, he's as athletic as my father, and I love my father, but he's not athletic at all. So it's just not a good look. And on the Neves side, it's rough because we see him in the Parkins fight, right? And he comes in and he looks fantastic for like 2 minutes. And then I don't know if I've ever seen such a drop off. It just ended. It's like the fight was done for him. 2 minutes. All right, I'm clocked up, and that's it. And then Parkins just gets on top and chokes him out. I mean, now we know Parkins is good. It's not a bad loss, but it's not the fact that he lost to Parkins. It's how he lost. It's that he death gassed within 2 minutes and 2 takedowns, and that's it. If he's trying to take down a guy like Denise, who's huge, I mean, so is Parkins. Parkins is also 6'4", but Denise looks very, like, compact. You know what I'm talking about? I don't think he's going to be easy to get down. Neves might be getting him there, but is he going to have the gas left over after he finally gets him down? I don't know. On the feet, obviously, I think Denise is the better striker, more technical, has way more weapons. But the problem is, like I mentioned, he's getting hit a ton by Rodrigo over here, 37 years old. And Neves, he can strike too. Mostly just hooks from him, not as clean, but he's got bombs in his hands. That's very clear. He hits super hard, and he could catch Denise. I'm probably going to stay away because I imagine they're going to open up Denise pretty wide. If Neves is like plus 200 or more, though, I am going to take a half unit shot because the wrestling is there. He doesn't go to it often, but it's going to be available. He's only 23. We can expect improvements. I heard that Denise is also really young, but I don't know how young, so can't really talk about that there. But I imagine he's also going to be improving. He did make his pro debut in 2022, so super fresh guy. We'll see. I think Denise probably wins by knockout, like you mentioned. But in terms of betting, unless Denise somehow is the underdog, I'll be looking to back Neves as a big dog.
Yeah, another heavyweight sloppy fight where I mean I guess if you do get big dog money on one side, then yeah, you're gonna have to take it.
Especially when you have a clear hole. I mean, we're literally looking at a kickboxer with the white belt.
Uh-huh. But next up, we have Gene Matsumoto going up against Casey Tanner. Matsumoto is going to be 24 years old, and he's going to have a 7-year age advantage. Or not age advantage, he's just 7 years younger. My brain's scrambling here. He's going to be 2 inches shorter than Casey Tanner. We don't have information on his reach, but 69 inches for Casey Tanner. And Casey Tanner is fighting out of Fight Ready, and Matsumoto is fighting out of Inside Muay Thai. Mike, lead us off with this one.
I'm glad I get this one. Dude, Matsumoto is dope. I really like this guy. He's really young, and he's still going to make mistakes. He does it still to this point, and because of that, I think they're going to open him here like minus 300. I'm fairly confident it's going to be something stupid and wide, and I'm not going to bet that because I'll talk about everything in a sec. But Tanner, he's super green, 6-0, not too many fights. But you can see, first of all, he's clearly a fight-ready guy. He's got the grappling. He's got good wrestling, pretty good takedown defense. I like that he's doing all the right things when he's defending takedowns. He could get taken down, but something I noticed, like he's scrambling back up. When Lindy was shooting in, he grabbed the ankle of Lindy, so Lindy couldn't get his angle, and he was able to defend the takedown that way. Things like that you want to see. Just stuffing takedowns doesn't help you in the tape. You want to see them doing the right things, hand control, hips, all that good stuff, underhooks, overhooks, and you're seeing that stuff out of Tanner. He's clearly got good wrestling. In terms of offensive wrestling, he's good, but mostly I'm seeing just like body locks and trips or him using like his muscles rather than technique to get guys down. When he is shooting doubles, his timing is good and he looks solid there. And then in the striking, I think that's where you really see how green he is. There's flashes of good, nice body work, good leg kicks, jab is good, but overall, I would say that it's pretty green and not too much to offer in terms of the hands and striking offensively. Matsumoto on the other side, I mean, the dude's clearly a prospect, 13-0 for a reason. He's not fighting absolute bums either. His last 2 fights weren't bad competition at all. It was these Brazilian LFA cards where they bring in good Brazilian dudes and not easy fights. And we did see Matsumoto get taken down. I believe it was the Santos fight. And my one issue there, and this is why I wouldn't back him at like minus 300, not in a parlay, not in anything, is he accepted bottom position against Santos. He'll hit that ghillie. If he doesn't get it, he's going to fish for stuff on bottom. That could be a good thing, like in the Barbosa fight yesterday. But a guy like Tanner, I'm pretty confident that if it's not the guillotine, it's going to be hard to submit him from bottom. And because of that, I have a little bit less confidence in Matsumoto. But overall, I mean, his wrestling is also really good. Super explosive, really good timing, good on top, good ground and pound. I think he's the much crisper, much more developed guy. He's the better striker, in my opinion. Nice front kicks. I think the counters and the footwork are really important here, too. I think he'll be able to defend any takedowns from Tanner. I think he'll be able to wrestle if he needs to. I think he's got the submission upside. If they give me something playable like minus 150 for some reason, I'll take Matsumoto. I just don't think that's going to be the case.
All great points, and you summed it up exactly how I would, to be honest. But before I address that, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to crush your heart here, and I don't like Harry Potter, my guy.
Wiz is clearly not a Harry Potter guy, man.
What do you mean by that, huh?
You just don't look like one, bro. You just don't look like one. Like if someone put a gun to my head and asked me, "Does Wiz like Harry Potter?" I'd be fairly confident in saying no.
Yeah, well, you'd be right. I'm glad you think that. But yeah, I do think Matsumoto is going to be a clear favorite here. Just a much more well-rounded mixed martial art game. And Tanner, yeah, he has a solid wrestling, but his striking is a mess. It's very green, and he leaves a lot of openings on the feet. So I really can't trust him as long as this fight is standing. On the mat, yeah, Matsumoto can get taken down every here and there, but I think his get-up game is pretty solid, and he has the wrestling of his own. I think he could find some sweeps and end up on top here. So all that being said, with your points, which I'm not going to repeat, I think Matsumoto is the clear side. It's just going to be wary and dependent on if Tanner can get him down and hold him down. That's the only threat that I see for Gene in this fight. Other than that, I think he should roll, but probably a decision here in my opinion.
Agreed. Maybe the totals might be playable. That could be interesting.
Yeah, maybe like a over 2.5.
Imagine they give us a 1.5 because they think Matsumoto subs him.
Oh man. Oh, I can't wait. We'll have to see. Next up, we have AJ Cunningham going up against Steven Nguyen. AJ is going to be the younger fighter by a year. He's going to be the shorter fighter by 1 inch, and we don't have metrics on his reach. AJ is coming out of Law School MMA, and then Steven's coming out of Fortis. And I think it's my turn for this one. And I don't have the most passionate take on this fight specifically. I think Steven is probably the much more talented guy in this fight, but I still think it's quite close. It's going to be his third time in the Contender series, but yeah, I mean, he throws a lot of volume. He does have some power in the striking, but his striking defense is pretty suspect. Decent wrestling. He can go to it and mix in the takedowns every here and there. But I mean, when you look at his last matchup, it was a year and 11 months ago, so pretty much 2 years ago. There's just always a question mark in my head when it comes to fighters that are coming onto the Contender series with 2-year plus layoffs. It's like, why have you been gone for the game for too long and you've only fought 9 times in total? And when you look at Cunningham, he's fighting in Fury, which is also like a organization that I don't really like coming straight into the Contender series, just because Fury is more known for like the step up into like the higher level regionals, in my opinion. The competition is mid, and he's more of a striker. He doesn't really wrestle all that often, and I just can't really see where he finds success other than on the feet here. If he gets taken down, I haven't really seen him too much off of his back, so I can't really say anything with confidence here, but I do think that Nguyen is going to be able to hold him on the mat and probably come out with another decision. I think this is going to be a lot of decisions on this card. But Mike, what do you think about this one?
What I think is this fight freaking sucks, man. I hate this fight. I hate that it's taken up a slot on the Contender series. I mean, if you really want either of these guys, just sign them short notice. Why you got to do this one? It's unnecessary. Neither one's going to get signed, even if Nguyen wins again. And it's just an annoying fight. But for a fight that I had so much crap to say just now, my notes are 3 pages long, and not one of my other like sets of notes were more than a page. I went in on this fight because I know Nguyen. I remember Nguyen very well. I do Contender series every season, and his performance against that guy Theo was just ridiculous. You're clearly the better guy. You're fighting a guy who's 5-0, completely inexperienced, shorter than you, smaller than you. You're piecing him up. Where is that urgency to get that finish? Like, just put it. If he would have just pushed a little harder, I think he could have gotten it. His striking is very solid. He's very crisp. Keeps it nice and tight. Everything is clean. You don't see him winging like a madman. Uses his jab really intelligently. He's good at using it to maintain his distance. Uses range because he's a rangier guy. The striking defense is pretty good, 56% after 2 full UFC, Contender series fights. Not bad. He moves away from shots really well after landing his own. Keeps himself safe. Doesn't wrestle all too much. Not something he goes to. He could do it. His defensive grappling, super solid, 77%. Now, we're talking about guys like Elon Cruz and this guy Theo, but Cruz went 0-4, and Cruz sucks, but he's a pretty good wrestler. He's long. He's got these long limbs, and it's not easy to deal with, so that's a good look. And against this guy Theo, he did get taken down twice, but you saw him immediately get back up or immediately reverse position and end up on top, and he's good at that. He's good at scrambling. He's good at sweeps. My main issue with him is exactly what you said. It's why has he been out? Why is he fighting so little? Was he just waiting and waiting for another Contender Series call? Because if that's the case, has he been in the gym? Has he been prepared? Like I don't know what the hell he's been doing. And then on the other side with Cunningham, I really wanted to like him because I don't like the lack of urgency from Nguyen. I don't like that layoff. So I really wanted a guy who could strike and who could preferably wrestle. And the thing with Cunningham is he's a hot mess in my opinion because he can look really good and then he can look horrible at the same time. He's going life and death with 6-4-0 guys, 2 in a row. Mullen and what was the other dude's name? I have it here. Mullen and Conley. Both of them had wrestling success against him. Neither of them is very good. Now, Mullen was able to get into full mount. He was able to get the back. Now AJ got up after that, but that's a horrible look. Richie Mullen is not good. In the Conley fight, Conley took him down easy, couldn't hold him, but he was threatening Darcis. It was just a bad look. I don't expect Nguyen to wrestle, but if he's hurt for some reason, he could probably go to it because Cunningham's takedown defense, I don't know what is going on there. Because when you have a guy who can wrestle and he can wrestle and his wrestling is pretty decent, it's very weird to see him have no takedown defense whatsoever. We saw with Budka yesterday, really good wrestler and takedown defense on point. Defended every takedown from Hanekom, and there were like 10 attempts. And it's because he did everything right. Hand control, overhooks, underhooks, hips. And Cunningham doesn't do any of that. I do think he has a slight path with the wrestling because if a guy like Theo can get down Nguyen, I think so can Cunningham. And I think Cunningham will have better top control than a guy like this Theo fella. But it's just, I don't think it's like a high likelihood that he's really going to go to it and have a ton of success. And on the feet, I think he's a decent striker. He can throw straight as well, but he's so hittable. I don't like his striking just overall. I think he gets pretty sloppy. He throws so much spinning stuff and it's all terrible, completely ineffective, and he still keeps throwing it. So that shows me a lack of fight IQ as well. As much as I don't like it, I think Nguyen pieces him up for 15 minutes. I think that's what's going to happen. I'm going to pass unless they give me a pick'em or a Nguyen underdog for some reason. I'll put a unit on him, but nothing more. Definitely not. Don't play him as a favorite. We don't know why he's been out. We don't know what he's going to look like. But I think even off of like a shitty layoff, he's still going to be better than Cunningham.
Yeah, I was very surprised when you mentioned that you really didn't like this fight, but then you mentioned that you had 3 pages of notes on
See, it's always those fights. It's always
it.
it's always the fights that
Yeah, I get you.
that I spend like 3 hours and 3 pages of notes analyzing just to come to the conclusion of I hate this.
Dude, that's hilarious. But we can move on to the main event. We have James Yantup going up against Malik Lewis, the return of Malik Lewis to the Contender Series. Yantup, his nickname is Goku, so first and foremost, let's put that out there. And then Malik Lewis, it's the battle of nicknames here. It's Goku versus Hard Knock. Yantup is 24 years old. He's going to be the younger fighter by 3 years. They're both fighters are going to be 6 foot. We don't have reach information on Yantup, but 76 inches of reach for Malik Lewis, fighting out of Genesis BJJ, and then FFC gym for Yantup, which is Peruvian gym. So with this one, yeah, obviously Malik Lewis coming back pretty quick to the Contender Series here. And I mean, I don't know why, but I just expect him to be a big underdog in this spot against a guy like Yantup. Yantup is a guy that carries a lot of power in the striking and has really good clinch game. Offensive wrestling is it's all right. Like he can go to it. I haven't really seen the guy off his back all that often, but the one thing I really like about this kid is that he's rangy and he does carry a lot of power. The issue for me is his past couple of fights were at welterweight, and I think it's primarily because when he cuts down to lightweight, he looks drained as fuck. Like, for lack of better words, he looks really drained and he just looks sucked in, and it's not like his natural weight class. Versus a guy like Lewis, who, yeah, I mean, he's rangy as well, likes to strike from short distance up close. He trains out of a BJJ gym. His jiu-jitsu is pretty decent as well. But the issue with Malik Lewis is the cardio. Against Trevor Peek last year, really didn't manage himself all that well. and gassed out just trying to hunt for the finish. I think that's probably why. And he just got hit with those hammer fists. So the cardio deficiency is something that is very discouraging on the Lewis side, especially at lightweight. I just think Yantup is going to be able to find the finish here in round 1 or round 2 fairly comfortably at a high clip. But I would not be surprised if Lewis does work some takedowns and subs this guy. But I've been burned by Peruvian MMA time and time again this year, and I will not be picking against them this time. Mike, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is like pretty easy betting wise. It's either a close line, minus 150, minus 175, and you play Lontop, or Lewis is like plus 300, and it's an easy underdog on Lewis. For me, I mean, I looked at Lontop, and then you see the record, you see Peruvian, you think of guys like Michael Morales, you think of guys. Oh no, I'm sorry, Morales is Ecuadorian, but you think of that guy on the first episode of the Contender series this year who beat the crap out of that Brazilian dude after he gassed out. Yeah, dude was a beast. So, like, you see all that and you think they're going to be really good. And then I watched the tape and, I mean, I kind of expected more, to be completely honest. I do think he's good. I do think he's very good. He's young, going to be improving. And if he's already where he's at this age, I think he's for sure a contender. I don't think he's ever going to touch title contention, but top 15, I can see him there in a few years. Good striking, good combos, good body work, like the body kicks, love front kicks to the body, good elbows and knees in the clinch. Output is great, mixes it up well, good power, but he seems really hittable, first of all. And then the big thing for me is the grappling here, because on one side, he's got good wrestling. He goes to it pretty often. He's shooting a lot. He's getting these takedowns. He's pretty good from top, but he's not doing a ton of work from on top. He's not getting submissions. He has one sub win. Ground and pound is pretty good, but nothing that like shocks the conscious. It's so amazing. And then the takedown defense is where I'm getting a little concerned, because it's a little questionable. If you have little Ronnie Zenidim taking you down and like taking your back in the first round, it's really hard to see how Malik Lewis isn't going to put you into danger early. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. If you have live betting available to you, I don't in New York, but if you do for Contender Series, I think this might be a good on top live betting spot, because Malik Lewis, in my opinion, probably wins round 1 like 7 out of 10 times. I think that just the wrestling, if he goes to it immediately, I think he can get him down, and I think he can take his back. I'll check out the sub props. If there's something nuts, that'll be a decent look. But then, like overall, as a fight, Lewis, there's a few problems, right? First of all, I don't think his striking's as good. He's got really good power, that's for sure, but everything kind of has a loop to it. The output is there, but it's also not quite there on the regionals. I think it was so good on the Contender Series just because Peak brings that out of people. He forces those kinds of fights, and you watch the fight after that, and Lewis isn't showing as much urgency. He's not showing as much output against a guy who's not as good as Peak, and that's saying something, because Peak is not that great. He's just a monster. But that's also something worth talking about with the cardio, because it's hard to tell if Lewis's cardio is really that bad. You don't see him drain too much on the regionals, and against Peak, like it's it's that kind of style where you can't catch your breath, because if you catch your breath, you're going to get standing hammer fisted to the face. So you're just moving and moving, and it's a style that's going to tire people out. And Lontop doesn't fight like that. He doesn't fight like that at all. So I don't know if he's going to gas out Lewis, but if Lewis is wrestling a lot in the first round, I do think he's going to slow down. And rounds 2 and 3, I think Lontop wins at a pretty high clip. So for me, this is going to be completely odds dependent. If Lewis is a huge dog, I'll play him and I'll play his sub. If it's a close line, I'm going to take a shot on Lontop. If I had live betting available, I would just wait rather than bet pre-flop. But it's a pretty hard fight to predict, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is a closer matchup when you break down the rounds, because I think Malik Lewis also wins that first round at a high clip, and then he probably will gas out. But this weight cut is going to be something to watch for Yantup because of how he's struggled in the past. So there's a lot to factor in here. Again, this week is not the best week in terms of betting when it comes to the Contender Series. So sometimes you just have to lay off of it and not force a bet. That's the most important thing. Protect the house.
We got a big Roy.
Oh wait, Liam, I'm doing a show, buddy.
That's big Roy.
Sorry, guys. But
Kid?
yeah, he's playing Fortnite and he just got Big Roy or something. I don't know. Oh, Liam. But yeah, that is all I have for this matchup. Do you have any closing thoughts for this one specifically?
Nah.
Nope.
James probably wins, but that's really it.
Yeah, then let me just check out the chat here. Yeah, PFL finals are in Washington. Unfortunately, I will not be able to make it because it's the day after Thanksgiving. And do I really want to do that? Probably not. The prices for flights are also mad expensive. So
Oh yeah.
I'm just going to pass on that altogether. But I don't know when tickets will be available. I don't expect them to be sold out just because it's the day after Thanksgiving. People might not be in town. So that's also
I
something
love
worth noting.
PFL. They're probably not going to be sold out.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah. Being realistic, yeah, they're probably not. But yeah, guys, that's another episode of these breakdowns. Mike, go ahead and plug yourself and let the people know what you have going on.
Yes, sir. Couch Warrior Pod on Twitter. That's where I post all my bets when I make them. Also, my Discord is out now. I'll post the link up again on Twitter. It's free. I put up all my bets and we talk fights, so that's fun. Check that out. Broke down the UFC card yesterday with our guy Brady from DFS by the numbers. Run that one back, went over the card. I think we found some good spots, talked about them. Tomorrow I'll be going live on Twitter Spaces as always, I believe at 8 p.m. Eastern time with my guy Propaholic. We're going to break down UFC 293 from a prop perspective. And yeah, only other thing is going to be my YouTube shorts, going to drop them tomorrow. And then next week I am going ghost for the first time in 2 years. I'm taking a break, not going to do any content. Looking forward. Unfortunately, won't do Contender series either with my guy Wiz, but I'm sure he'll keep you guys informed.
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, I'll probably be going solo next week, so you can look out for that. And if you guys are interested in NFL week 1, we already filmed the first episode of NFL Bell earlier today, so it's already live on the channel. Go ahead and check it out. It's with my guy Lou Beccia, friend of the show. We killed it. There's a lot of good spots in week 1, and we're looking to take advantage. But until next week, we will see y'all later. Enjoy it, and let's make some money this weekend.